Okay, the well-meaning man said to me, Walter, please don't cut it hedge pruning method because it sounds like you're pruning it like a hedge. And I said, that's exactly what I do. It's a good name. Be careful, I have cut my fingers before doing this. You could actually use a motor hedge pruner. Just for the heck, I could do that, but this is not really fun. This is serious bonsai work. It doesn't look like, but it is. So somebody will say, well, Walter, that looks terrible. You do this so brutally, I cannot even look at this. I would want to take the time and cut every single branch. The answer is yes, of course you can do that. You can go to your garden and with a pair of scissors, cut every single grass, and in the end it will look like somebody went over it with a lawnmower. So you can also use a lawnmower, basically. So I don't think it's brutal. It's just a very effective way of doing it. And the result is the same, whether you do that carefully or whether you do it as I do very quickly, the result is the same. So it's certainly not show ready now, but it looks a lot more decent and the proportions are much better. Okay. If you wanted to show this tree now, of course you would have to be very careful in individual cutting, but there's no way that I want to show this tree in this stadium here. So anyway, I'm coming to an end. That's about what I do. Now you understand why I can handle almost 1,000 trees. But I do not do this to save time. That's also one side effect. I do it because it's better for developing a tree. So even if you have only one tree, and if you want to develop that, I suggest you do it like that. And now, normally, that's what I do, and then I go to the next tree. And in one afternoon, I've done about 20 or 30 maples or other deciduous trees. And that's it. And then I leave them alone, water them, feed them, and 6 weeks, 8 weeks later, I do that again. Now we have learned about my main method of getting very good ramification and of developing trees in a very quick time and even developing already sort of finished trees and making much better. In addition to that, there's another method in addition, not instead, but in addition, and that's defoliation. The defoliation we are being taught you do to what? To get smaller foliage, to get ramification. Okay, the defoliation has a similar effect as the hedge pruning method because the tree has stored some energy and then some animal eats off all the foliage and then the tree is in shock and then he produces more new growth than normally, so he overreacts, and this is why you then get more ramification. Now, if you understand that, you will also understand that after I had it way overgrown, it has even more energy than normally. So if you treat the tree as most people do, just pinch it and keep it as it is and then defoliate it, it will get new ramification, but not as much because it's kind of weak. You're weakening the tree by pinching it on purpose. So, and I said, no, the opposite you have to do. You have to strengthen it and then weaken it, and so that it brings a lot more new buds than normally. Okay, so as I said before, this is the stadium after 6 weeks, and then you let it grow again. So, and in November or so, I can then do the final editing. I think we might now want also to do the defoliation, which is simply pull off all the foliage. Partial defoliation is possible with this kind of very vigorous, strong tree, not really necessary. You can actually take off all the foliage. And then, luckily, we can then see what this tree would look like in November. So it's not just theory. And now we, for quite a while, will have to pull every single leaf off that tree. That's the water Pall goat method. Goats eat like that. Well, you can defoliate a tree when it is strong. You can defoliate a tree when you know that it's strong enough and has enough energy to produce new buds and not taking any risk. Now, how do you tell whether a tree is strong? Well, you just look at it. If it has a lot of foliage, the foliage looks very green and very happy, and you had it overgrown before, then you know it's strong. If you are pinching the tree, if the tree got some burned foliage, and so be careful. And then it also depends on the species. While I would do the hedge pruning method on almost any deciduous tree, I would be careful of doing the defoliation. Only on very strong trees. Trident maples usually are very strong. These Japanese maples, especially the ones with the small foliage, very often are weak, so be careful with that. Don't do it every year, maybe every 2 or 3 years. The smaller foliage trees like elms or like hornbeams, you don't necessarily have to do it because they have a lot of ramification anyway, but you can do it. On beeches even, where they tell me that it's not allowed to do defoliate, I do defoliate when they're strong, and they respond with enormous ramification. Linden, enormous ramification. Field maples, which are usually not as dense as any other maple, I learned if you defoliate them, they will be boom. They will all of a sudden be very, very ramified. So defoliation is very, very good method, but be careful, only on strong trees. So it's rather simple. I do what basically a goat would do. I take the leaf and pull it off. And since that will take a bit too long, I usually take 2 or 3 leaves and pull them off. Make sure that I don't want to hurt any of these stems. So this is why I never pull on the side. I always pull that way, and then it's okay. You can even go through like that, and it will not hurt anything. It's very simple. I think every kid would know how to do that instantly. It's not a big problem. Only do it carefully. I do it quickly because that's a pretty big tree, but do it carefully. You can leave some of this foliage in there, so this is a partial defoliation then, and it looks slightly untidy, but the purpose is not for it to look very good afterwards. So this, we are not preparing this for a show. We are just preparing it for new growth, and so it's not really necessary to be extremely tidy, but you can be tidy. That does not hurt. So if you then say, well, I want to make it look very good, then you take off all the foliage. Can you do this? Well, you can do it if the tree was very happy before. Then you can take all the foliage, and this tree was very happy. Okay. Can I leave the foliage on some branches which I want to develop? Yes, you can, and you should. If you, especially the lower branches, if they are a bit weak, then you want to thicken them and help them, you would leave all the foliage down here. Now, you're aware that will look kind of silly all summer long, but that's what you do for development of that tree. On this tree, it's not necessary because